The practice of American night doctors has a deeply rooted history, mired in racism and discrimination. This disturbing aspect of American history sheds light on the sinister acts carried out against African Americans, particularly during the era of slavery and the Jim Crow laws. In this video, we will delve into the troubling history of American night doctors and explore the heinous acts committed against African Americans under the guise of medical care. The exploitation of African American bodies for medical experimentation and training also played a significant role in the development of modern medical knowledge. For instance, Dr. J. Marion Sims, often hailed as the father of modern gynecology, conducted numerous painful experimental surgeries on enslaved women without their consent or anesthesia in the 19th century. Moreover, the Tuskegee syphilis study, conducted by the U.S. Public Health Service from 1932 to 1972, involved withholding treatment from African American men with syphilis to observe the natural progression of the disease without their informed consent. These instances exemplify the egregious mistreatment and exploitation of African Americans by medical practitioners, perpetuating a legacy of distrust and fear within the African American community toward the medical establishment. Such historical injustices continue to impact healthcare disparities and attitudes towards medical treatment among African Americans today. The origins of night doctors. The origins of night doctors can be traced back to the era of slavery in the United States, when enslaved individuals were subjected to brutal medical experimentation and treatments by medical practitioners. The dehumanizing acts carried out under the guise of medical care included surgeries, amputations, and other painful procedures performed without consent or anesthesia. During this period, enslaved African Americans were seen as property, and their bodies were used as subjects for medical research and training, often resulting in severe harm or death. One infamous example is the story of James Marion Sims, a renowned gynecologist who conducted experimental surgeries on enslaved women without their consent and without the use of anesthesia to develop his surgical techniques. This harrowing exploitation of African American bodies for medical advancements deeply entrenched a legacy of mistrust and fear within the African American community towards the medical establishment. The traumatic experiences of African Americans at the hands of medical practitioners during the era of slavery laid the foundation for the long history of abuse and exploitation that continued well into the 20th century. These instances of medical exploitation perpetuated healthcare disparities and have significantly impacted the attitudes and trust towards medical treatment among African Americans to this day. The Tuskegee study of untreated syphilis. The Tuskegee study of untreated syphilis is one of the most notorious examples of medical malpractice in the United States. The study, initiated in 1932 and spanning 40 years, aimed to observe the natural progression of untreated syphilis in African American men. Egregiously, the participants were deceived and not informed of their diagnosis or the purpose of the study, perpetuating a legacy of distrust. Even when penicillin became widely accepted as an effective treatment for syphilis, the participants were denied access to it. This deprivation of treatment resulted in unnecessary suffering and death among the participants. In total, 600 African American men from Macon County, Alabama, were involved in the study. The United States Public Health Service, in collaboration with the Tuskegee Institute, conducted the study. Shockingly, the researchers deliberately withheld treatment from the participants, further deepening the healthcare disparities faced by African Americans. The study's findings were published in medical journals and presented at conferences, contributing to the perpetuation of racist perspectives and medical mistreatment of African Americans. The Tuskegee study is a stark example of systemic racism, unethical medical practices, and the violation of human rights within the medical community, with its repercussions still affecting the attitudes and trust towards medical treatment among African Americans today. Forced sterilization programs. Beginning in the 1920s and continuing through the 1970s, state-sanctioned sterilization programs disproportionately affected women of color, particularly African American and Native American women. These programs were rooted in eugenics, a pseudo-scientific belief in the selective breeding of humans, which was used as a justification for the forced sterilization of individuals deemed unfit to reproduce. The eugenics movement gained traction in the early 20th century, and by 1931, 28 states had compulsory sterilization laws in place. A shocking 65,000 individuals, disproportionately women of color, were forcibly sterilized under these laws. The victims of these programs often had their reproductive capacity permanently altered without their consent, and many were coerced or misled into undergoing the procedure. Notably, in North Carolina alone, more than 7,600 individuals were sterilized under state authority, with 85% being women and girls. The racial bias in these programs is evident by the disproportionately high percentage of sterilizations carried out on African American women, who accounted for about 40% of the state's sterilization procedures, despite comprising only 25% of the population. Furthermore, Native American women were also targeted, with the Indian Health Service admitting to sterilizing 3,406 Native American women without proper consent. These numbers underscore the deeply ingrained racial discrimination within the forced sterilization programs, highlighting the broader systemic racism that permeated American medicine. The reprehensible practice of forced sterilization not only reflects the deep-seated racism and discrimination embedded in the history of American medicine, but also serves as a stark reminder of the ongoing struggle for reproductive justice and autonomy for women of color. Legacy of mistrust and inequality in healthcare. The legacy of American night doctors and the systemic mistreatment of African Americans within the medical field has contributed to a lasting legacy of mistrust and inequality in healthcare. The impact of historical trauma continues to affect the healthcare-seeking behavior of African American communities, leading to disparities in access to quality care and health outcomes. The enduring effects of this traumatic history underscore the importance of acknowledging past injustices and working towards addressing present-day healthcare disparities. The systemic mistreatment of African Americans has led to pervasive healthcare disparities. For example, African Americans are 20% more likely than white Americans to report having an unmet medical need due to cost. Additionally, data reveals that Black mothers in the U.S. are 3 to 4 times more likely to die from pregnancy-related causes compared to white mothers, reflecting the disparity in maternal health care. Moreover, the COVID-19 pandemic has further highlighted the disparities, as African Americans are nearly 3 times more likely to be hospitalized and twice as likely to die from the virus compared to white Americans. Furthermore, studies have shown that African American patients are less likely to receive pain medication for similar conditions compared to their white counterparts, leading to disparities in pain management. The mistrust stemming from historical mistreatment also manifests in lower participation rates in clinical trials among African Americans, resulting in a lack of representation in medical research, and potentially leading to treatments that are less effective for this demographic. These disparities continue to persist despite efforts to address them, highlighting the deep-rooted impact of historical mistreatment on healthcare inequality. Conclusion: it is vital to confront this troubling history, acknowledge its impact on present-day healthcare disparities, and work towards a more equitable and just healthcare system for all. Confronting the troubling history of American night doctors and the systemic mistreatment of African Americans within the medical field is crucial to understanding the lasting impact of historical trauma on healthcare disparities. For instance, African Americans are 20% more likely than white Americans to report having an unmet medical need due to cost, reflecting the inequality in access to healthcare. Furthermore, Black mothers in the U.S. are 3 to 4 times more likely to die from pregnancy-related causes compared to white mothers, highlighting the disparities in maternal health care stemming from historical mistreatment. The COVID-19 pandemic has further exacerbated these disparities, as African Americans are nearly 3 times more likely to be hospitalized and twice as likely to die from the virus compared to white Americans, underscoring the impact of historical trauma on healthcare outcomes. Studies have also revealed that African American patients are less likely to receive pain medication for similar conditions compared to their white counterparts, leading to disparities in pain management. This disparity in pain management reflects the enduring effects of historical mistreatment on healthcare-seeking behavior and outcomes among African American communities. Additionally, the legacy of mistrust stemming from historical mistreatment manifests in lower participation rates in clinical trials among African Americans, resulting in a lack of representation in medical research and potentially leading to treatments that are less effective for this demographic. These disparities persist despite ongoing efforts to address them, emphasizing the deep-rooted impact of historical mistreatment on healthcare inequality.